Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday, April 4th. The Trio Approach, glad to be with you. Along with I'm Chad Johnson, along with my co-hosts Chella Diaz and Denise Murtha Bachman. And we represent the three keys to sales success, to bringing your business and your sales to fruition. And as you'll find out here in just a minute, as my co-hosts introduce themselves, my name, in case you don't know me, is Chad Johnson, and I help people prospect, generate leads, and build a limitless pipeline. And my partners in crime, Chella Diaz and Denise Bachman, they help sell and narrow your focus to what your offering is and how you should price it. We're kind of like the complete package. We help you bring everything into place and into shape. So, Chella, you want to kick us off and introduce yourself?
Absolutely. Actually, you already did a great job. So that's exactly what it is when you have a clear offer, that is huge because then people understand why they need to work with you, right? So it all starts with your offer, packaging that so that you're attracting the people you want to work with.
Yeah. And Denise, you want to talk a little bit about how you work with people in working their prospects through the pipeline and to the close?
Yes, sir. I will do that. I am Denise Murtha Bachman. By the way, I'm in Houston, Texas, and today looks like it's going to be a beautiful day. So I'm super excited. It means it might actually be warm because my hands are still freezing in here. But yes, I help organizations to, yes, adopt and adapt to AI technologies within the sales process. But more importantly, how do you retain the human element in that such that once you have those efficiency gains, you are now pivoting, shifting, and focusing on all things human related as it relates to the sales process. So how do we continue to foster, cultivate, and elevate the human connection so that we are the differentiators amongst this world of AI solutions? So that's me.
Yeah, and that's so important too, because I mean, I'm already hearing it. People are kind of getting tone deaf to that. They can spot that AI content, that AI response or email template now, and they're already going, yeah, we're losing the human touch already. So that's really an important point that you bring up. One of the reasons that the three of us we met by happenstance. We met on an audio event. Actually, Denise and I met first on an audio event, and then had a conversation afterwards. And Denise and I both joined Chella's audio event, and all of a sudden the three of us were like, wow, we really have something to bring together here. And I'm also going to, obviously let Chella and Denise talk about this as well. But one of the things that we found is that we kind of bring the entire package together, from figuring out what your offering is, figuring out how you should price it, to how you should attract, potential clients and leads, and then how to close them and onboard those new customers. It's one of those things that we can kind of take you from alpha to omega all in one step. And I think that was the beauty of it. We found that we were really complementing each other in bringing those aspects of our career experience with us. All of us have had great careers in what we've done, and now we've decided to take this out and help other solopreneurs and entrepreneurs and salespeople, grow themselves in their business. Chella, what would you add to that?
I would add that it was really, truly, we met in the audio room at Denise's, and then you guys came over to my room because Denise's room is 1 hour prior to mine. But it was also the people that were asking questions and how we were able to help them, right? We already have, I don't know, 3 success stories
Yeah.
just from the audio rooms.
Yeah.
And that's when we thought, okay, we bring our experience and we all have a special sauce. But when we come together, and we already experienced that in the audio rooms, right? We already have people that, because of our trio approach, we were able to help them. And now they're on their way. One lady, right? She's already took action. And so this is where it was born. And I'm excited because by being us together, we're going to be able to make a bigger impact. We're going to be able to help a lot more people elevate their business.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I think really it's the way we can do it in all of our focus areas really does bring a total package. So it's a lot of fun to know that we can help organizations and entrepreneurs and small businesses really truly elevate their sales results in a way that covers all aspects of the sales process.
Yeah, because I mean, the game has really changed. I mean, everything from prospecting to selling, it's all changed dramatically. It was doing it before COVID, but COVID really accelerated it. And now, people that use traditional methods to go out there to try and prospect and to close new business, they're finding that, wow, they just don't work anymore. They don't have the same results. So people are harder to are harder to find, harder to engage, harder to get into the pipeline, and harder to really present your ideas to. And what I found, and please, ladies, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but what I found is really so many of the buyers out there today, they've become what we do in consumer life. You can't find an interested buyer because just like me, and I'm sure y'all, that when you get interested in something, what do? You go online, you research it. You satiate that interest right away. You're not looking to talk to a company or to a salesperson per se. So, reaching those potential customers or generating interest and curiosity is really a challenge. And, I think that's really where, Chella, that's where you come in, because by narrowing down and really pinpointing what that offer is and being able to describe it and being able to intrigue, potential customers, that's really key. You start the process. You know what I'm talking about?
Absolutely. Right. And you're right. That is the key. That's step one, right? It's when you have clarity on your offer, it makes it easy, one, to attract the people, but it also, even more important, is it takes away the people that are not a fit for you, right? So we all want to work with the right person, the right client, but we also don't want to get into the conversations where we know that person is not a fit for us. And having clarity on your offer is going to allow you to do just that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And I think how you message that, because Chad, you mentioned, how the buying process has changed now as it relates to how the buyer engages with us. And actually, there's a stat. I'm looking at it now, so I make sure I get it right. I say this all the time, but I'm working on the verbiage there. But 80% of B2B sales engagements or interactions between buyers and sales occur through the digital channel.
Yeah.
Which means that they've already done their homework by the time that they have started to engage with you, right? They've already seen what you offer, the value that you bring. So what you do at the very onset, before you even engage with them, matters. So understanding your value, as Chella said, is absolutely key, because you should be messaging that before they even engage with you.
Yeah, and you bring up the best point of all is, the digital channels. That's really the thing. One of the things that we always learned in sales, one of the first things is know your customer. And today, one of the biggest things about knowing your customer is knowing what they're doing when they buy, what their buying process is, how they're doing their research, and how you can engage them. And that's where I help people build that online presence, have that 24/7 prospecting machine out there that's getting that interest built, that curiosity generated in your products and services, so that you are able to cultivate leads even in your sleep. And then you begin conversations through those digital channels, and those conversations lead to the actual sales. And that's another thing I think we should really hit on is, pitching is dead. Pretty much. I mean, nobody wants to get pitched anymore. Nobody wants to be sold. Everybody still likes to buy. I actually had an SVP in a very large corporation recently tell me that when it comes to sales, that he finds the elevator pitch extremely appalling. And I said, really? And he's like, yeah. He goes, really, I equate the elevator pitch to walking into a singles bar, going up to someone you've never met in your life before, and without saying anything else, go your place or mine. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Did that set a I was like, it's that bad? And he's like, it's that bad. I'm like, wow. So, I mean, realistically,
Well,
speaking
but Chad, I would argue that a bit, though, because I agree with him in that respect. Like, you shouldn't just go up and have a conversation and immediately, or in order to have a conversation, you immediately give them your elevator pitch. But I
Right.
do believe you have to have an elevator pitch so
Yes.
that if they say, hey, nice to meet you, what do? You already have in your mind how you're going to message that so that it comes out in a
Yep.
way that is both effective and efficient, because no one wants a long-winded response, and no one wants to be confused either. So having an elevator pitch, I think, is important to have, just used differently than it was in the past.
Yeah, I've changed the name. I call it the concise clarifier. So you can very quickly.
Oh.
And the reason I did that is, one, because elevator pitch is it's kind of got that feel vibe to it. But the reason I changed it to that concise clarification is because a lot of first touches these days, as you mentioned yourself, don't happen via cold call or email. So it's really not an elevator pitch. You've already kind of had a conversation on a digital channel before you really actually connect live. And so at that point in time, you're really just concisely clarifying what it is you do. And that's why I switched it around like that.
I like that. I just made a note. Did you see, Denise and I, we just went to the notes.
I wrote it down.
We're keeping it real here. We're keeping it real, right? And I think this is what's really the why we decided to come, because we all have experiences, but when we come together, even the way we learn from each other, right? We are elevating each other as we're doing this.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I dare say, I won't give a number, but I can tell you between the three of us, we have many decades of experience in what we do, and in sales and marketing and prospecting and offers and pricing. And that's what we really bring, and that's what we want to share. So anybody.
And God, you cannot give those numbers, because then that dates us and everyone knows how old we are. I mean, I share that pretty frequently, but for those that are new, that are joining us, I don't want you to know how old I am.
And,
well,
not that we're quick sideways. So I cannot tell you how many people, including family members, have offered to pay me in order to find out what my age is and so forth. So
oh my goodness.
that's a bit going on right now.
Oh my goodness. Well, I like to tell people that I'm 35 with 21 years experience.
So you're having them to work, right? You're having them to actually work for the information. That's interesting.
Just a half a second there. A little quick math. Yeah. It's a good way to see if people are paying attention, for sure. And that's really what your online presence does these days is it gives you that credible validation, that getting people's attention. And that's so important. What do you think some of the best ways that people get attention in their actual sales presentations and in their actual sales process, Denise?
So what am I seeing that is potentially wrong in what they're doing, or what is the right way?
I think what is the right way? I think everybody kind of knows, they feel their results are showing. Maybe I'm not doing it the best way right now. So maybe
I don't know. I mean, I would argue that, Chad, because I still have. So let me share an example of an engagement with someone who still doesn't get that what they're doing is wrong, right?
Okay.
So I had a DM that came through, and it was a pitch slap, essentially, right? They had never spoken to the individual, and they immediately tell me all that they do and what they think they can do for me, right?
Oh boy.
So now, first off, I'm in sales. So if you've done any of your homework with me, you should actually look at what the proper process is to engage with someone who is already in sales, but they didn't do that. So that's issue number one. But then when they sent me the pitch, when they sent me their first engagement, I think it was last week, is when I decided that I was going to craft a message, because I get a million of these, just like we all do. But if you are generating content, if you're an entrepreneur, they do that even more so, right? So I get a ton a day. And so I decided, you know what, I was going to approach them in a way that maybe I could share with them that what they're doing is not really the most appropriate way in which to engage in a sales opportunity, and that I would give them some free advice. This is what I recommend in place of. But oh, by the way, if you're interested, I do have a 2-hour program that is I think I put it at $199 that you can join. and I will teach you how to more effectively do this, right? So it was a little bit of everything, right? So I gave him free advice. I first shared, hey, I appreciate your approach, but this isn't really the most effective way. Here's some free advice. Should you want to do anything other than that and actually engage, here's a way to do that, right? Not a sales pitch, but just, if I'm going to give you some advice, I'm not going to leave you hanging, here's how you can do that, right? The guy decided that after that was maybe his entry point into just sending me a message every, like, 3 times a day until I just
Oh,
said no more, right? But
oh,
he thought it because I guess maybe because I gave him that little line of that opening that said, hey, I'm going to, here's my program, that he thought that gave him the right to just continuously. So he never got the fact that what I was telling him was essentially, you suck, dude. And what you're doing is putting all of sales down, right? And we're struggling right now to try to elevate sales so that it's a much more of a noble profession again. And you're doing everything in the world to contradict that and prove to everyone that it isn't a noble profession, right? And so, but the guy didn't get it. So I guess where I'm going with all that is, I think in concept, we all should know what's wrong in what we're doing, but I don't think people get it today. Not everyone does. Now, there are some who are a bit more experienced, who are a bit more emotionally intelligent, who have a better sales IQ that probably do, and they just don't know how to change it or know or what to change. But then I think there are still quite a few that just don't get it.
oh, I would agree. I had the same thing 2 days ago. I got a DM on LinkedIn, and a gentleman approached me and he said, hey, I'd really like to know how successful is your team in prospecting? And I was like, did you look at my profile even once? Because it would clearly tell you that that's what I do. So it's pretty good. But yeah, no, it is kind of funny how, that lack of taking that extra second that people could do to research and know a little bit about somebody before they reach out to them and make themselves look a little silly. I think one of the things that I find difficult sometimes is how to concisely get your point across to exist so that people can see something in just a couple of quick words and know exactly what you do. And Chella, that's, I think, probably where your mastery comes in your secret sauce there. How do you take someone's offering and just break it down so that so very quickly in just a few words, anybody reading it goes, oh, that makes sense. I know what they do.
Yes, and I'm going to say the 4-letter word,
You do it.
and that is pain.
Oh yeah.
Right? What is that
Yeah.
4-letter word?
Yeah.
What is their pain? Right? And is your approach, right? So we're solving the pain, whether we want to call it that. We all know people are willing to pay a lot of money for you to take their pain away.
Yeah.
Right? So
Absolutely.
what's their pain? But I want to go back real quick because this is the first time it happened to me on the DM. So I've been saving a few because Denise and we talked about maybe replying. So I was okay. So how can I craft a message to send back to them? And it was interesting because as I was thinking, they sent a second message. I have 5
Oh
in my
wow.
inbox. And so 2 people sent out a second message. Well, I don't know if you saw this. And one of them, which I thought was very clever, and I do respect the fact that they did this, is they sent me a video testimonial from one of their clients.
Oh wow.
So that's a different approach, right? He still doesn't know anything about me, but it's all about, well, we see that you're a coach. Do you want to? We have this coaching system. We can help you do this. So I understand that, but it's just that you don't know if that's really what I want. So
Yeah.
it goes back to your offer needs to meet what they want, whether they know that that's what they want or they know whatever that is, right? So I had fun, right? I didn't reply, because it was, but the fact that they send 2 messages, did you see it? So for me, I sometimes play around, and I send them a link, here's where I take my get to know calls. And sometimes, I'm sorry, but I just block. Because I don't want more of that. So, but I thought it was comical and I thought, really? So they're doing a lot of different things. I respect the fact that he did send out, a video. And the video was really impressive. but you don't know me.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah,
how
but
do
see,
you know
that's
what I need?
well, and that's where I think the most frustrating is we have so many tools out there available to us now to uber personalize, right? Before you send a message, I talk about, Chad, I know your whole gig is prospecting. And so you've got a way to help us do that more effectively. But once we've got our prospecting list, and we all have them, right? So we create our prospecting list. Now, before it only takes a couple of minutes for you to go and look at each of your prospects. Either do it all in one morning, right? Go look at each of your prospects and take a note about them. Or as you make the call, just take a few moments and look at them before you make the call or send the DM or send the. Although I believe that you should even uber personalize before you even send that first outreach engagement, which is really starting to engage with them on the platform first, right? I
Yep.
think if you do that, then you eliminate the need to make it a cold call and it turns into a warm call then. But that's a whole nother debatable conversation as to whether or not cold calling is dead as we know it today. I still believe there's a purpose for cold calling. But I believe more in warm calls. So they're still cold calls, but now they're a little bit more warm because I've actually found a way to engage with them on LinkedIn, right? Because LinkedIn is my platform. That being said, LinkedIn is not everyone's go-to platform necessarily, but interchange that with either Facebook or Instagram, whatever that is that you leverage as your social media platform to engage wherever your clients are, use that methodology first. But that's a whole nother we could spend an hour just talking about cold
Oh,
calling.
no kidding. And that's one thing you bring up a great point, because new information came out in a study that came out in January of this year, said you increase your odds of closing a new customer 86% if your first touch is not a cold call or a cold email, oddly enough. So that's where it goes back to that, having that online presence and that authority and that place where people can find you is really important. Chella, you mentioned something. You said people will pay to alleviate pain. One of the things that I find, and I did it myself when I first started off on my own, was, a lot of people undersell themselves. They really charge too little for their services. What kind of secret recipe do you have for helping people price their products, price their offerings?
This is the third time this week that I talk about this. This is my favorite subject because, and I'm speaking of maybe somebody that's coming from the corporate world and you were really good at whatever it is that you did, and now you're going out and you're an entrepreneur. They have this idea that we need to start from scratch.
Hmm.
And I know this personally because that was me. But we don't need to start from scratch. And this is the key. We need to take into consideration all of our experience, all of our trainings, all of the certifications that we have, because we're bringing all that skill set into our business, right? So we're not starting over, we're shifting, but we bring all of that, in. And I think that's why, and I especially, no, no, no. I especially see this for women, right? We think, oh, it's a new thing. Now we have to start from scratch.
Hmm.
I do see that in men, but especially in women, I see that because they feel, oh, I need to start. So that means that I have to start at the lowest possible price. But if you just take one moment and look, and even let's give a tip, make a list, put it out in writing, have it in front of you. What are some of the experiences that you have? What are some of the trainings? What are your certifications? What's your education that you have? Even if it's not related to what you're going to do. And I think that's the key, because if they think that was in a different field, it's still experience that's going to allow you to do this new thing better, bigger, faster. That's it, the bridge. And if I can just get, anyway, that's the bridge. And that's why I believe that packaging your offer, because we look at your experience and we look at, and I'm going to speak here for myself, but I have two sons, and I believe that being a mom has helped me become a phenomenal coach, right?
Hmm.
Because I already have the skill set. Now, you don't have to be a mom, but for me, those were skill sets.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
juggling all the things that you need to do, the sports and the thing and the thing and the thing. not to mention the bake sale, but I think I talked about bake sales before. But bring those experiences, and that's your starting line,
Mhm.
not the bottom of, ooh, something new. Can you tell
Well, you
I'm
know, I belong
super excited? I can tell because
passionate. You're passionate. Passionate.
I am
Right.
because it's just that shift. You have lots of experience, you have lots of training, and those skill sets are going to be transferred into your new adventure.
Yeah.
Well, and
Absolutely.
speaking along those same terms, I belong to a WhatsApp group of other sales consultants, right? And one of the common themes, or the reoccurring conversation, is this concept or notion about having, let's just take coaching, right? And not everyone who's listening is necessarily a coach. This applies for whatever industry that you are focused on, right? But we'll just use coaching because that's who this group is. So it's the coaching conversation. But for those that the conversation was, do you have to be certified as a coach? Or, what does experience matter over certification, right? And the conversation seems to be, and what I think most of them agree on, is it doesn't necessarily have to be. You go in and you get all these certifications, and no one ever asks for them, right? When you engage with them. That's true across all industries. No one needs to know because they don't really care. They just want to know the value that you're giving them today, right? And how you got there. So experience does matter more over. So this goes back to, when you're adding your value, having confidence in what you're doing, that just because you don't have a certification, or just because you don't, whatever is usually necessary, as long as you have the wherewithal, you have the experience, you have the tribal knowledge, and you can show that in the value that you give, that is enough. And that is how you can determine your price.
Yeah. You think about it. I mean, nobody has a certification for a job that they have in corporate America. Doesn't matter what your title is. There wasn't a certification to get there. You may have had to have some education to be, able to, get into those roles and do those jobs. But yeah, it's really amazing. And not only that, the one thing that I found is that, if you don't price your offering properly, you'll get too many people who won't use it. It doesn't matter to me. One of the things that I thrive on is seeing people succeed. So, if you price it too low, people, they're like, oh, that's something fun. Maybe I'll do it. Maybe I won't. Literally, they'll take it that way. They'll buy it, and they'll go ahead, but they won't use it. And you won't have those raving fans out there. You won't have those testimonials because it wasn't something significant enough for them to do. It was something they were interested in. There's that level where you get the serious person who's like, I'm going to commit to this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually put this in action. And that's where the real wins are. I mean, just because you can sell something to everybody doesn't mean you should. And I think that that's something really important to know. And pricing really helps people get the serious people that are going to actually use the tools that you're going to give them. I mean, every one of us here, each one of us probably independently has, $1 million plus of training in them over in ourselves over our careers easily. I know it's one of those things where you when you pick coaches, you look at how many years have they been doing what they've done, how successful were they, what sorts of industries have they worked with, and then you start looking at kind of the whole package. And that's where I think we all kind of found our niche, our mesh together. We're like, kind of create the whole package. So yeah, I find it interesting. What would you say, Chella, the one thing that's most important that people consider whenever they start thinking, hey, I might want to do a side hustle. Hey, I might want to start my own business. What's the first thing they should think of when they go, what am I going to offer?
But I find that if you're already thinking that, is because they've already been helping people,
Yeah.
right? They may not have gotten paid, because I know that I've been doing this like way before I started doing my business. I was helping people in so many different ways. So most likely they're already helping people, which is, again, we got to count that as you already have success stories,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
And even if it's something totally brand new that you're just jumping on, that's also a good opportunity, because why, right? Why do they want to do what they want to do?
Yeah.
They're driven, right? There is a very strong why for them as to why they want to do that.
Yeah. And
And we
Denise,
got to look at that.
Yeah. And Denise, if you're like me, you probably have family members, everybody and their brother's cousin that you know goes, hey, what would I do if I want to sell this? I'm sure you hear that all the time. How do you handle that?
Oh, well, first I have to ask the right questions, right? Who's your target audience? So I try to qualify. I think that's the part that if I leave anyone with anything today, and we didn't really talk about this much, but when you're, but in not directly, but indirectly we did, it's really continuing to ask the questions to get you to your value, right? Or continuing to ask the questions to be able to respond to something as simple as what Chad just asked, or continue to ask the questions so that when you're prospecting, are your targets the right targets? Have you created the right list? I just think that we need to be a bit more curious, not just as humans, but within the sales process as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And for me, people ask me all the time, well, how do I find, how can I get new potential clients? I'm like, listen, there's one thing you have to ask yourself. Are you visible? Can you be found? Can you be seen? I mean, because everybody's online researching everything. If they're researching your topic, your subject, your product, your offering, will they find you? Can they find you? And if the answer is no, there's your first clue that you have some changes that you need to make, because that's where the world is today. I know that dealing with executives and companies all across the country, the one thing I've heard is whenever they get a call or an email from a salesperson that does intrigue them, that they're interested in, the first thing they do is they go look them up online, and they
Yep.
see what are they about, where have they gone to school, what do they know, where have they worked, what are their experiences, what are they talking about. So if you're not out there giving information about, hey, I'm intimately familiar with these types of problems that your companies face, or I can intimately understand and relate to, and I've solved all of these types of problems. If you don't have that visibility out there, then you're at an extreme disadvantage to others that do, because they get that authority over you. And that's something that's really important. So thinking about it that way. Now I know we're at the bottom of the hour and time's about to run out. So I was going to say, ladies, any last parting thoughts? I think we kind of gave the key points to what to think about. What are the last parting thoughts you'd leave people with today?
If they have any questions, I think for me, if they have any questions, please reach out to us. You can write your questions here. You can send us private messages. We speak. We're all the time. So ask us your questions, send us your messages, and join us next week in our audio room, where we're going to be able to have a two-way conversation.
Absolutely. Denise?
That would be it. Yeah, no, I mean, I want to thank everyone for joining us. We're a little over, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So thank you for having been here with us.
Take care, everybody. Have a great weekend and a great rest of your week.
Thank you.
Bye.